And finally, the most important topic, I think, throughout all of our work is that of communication. And communication is the key to human understanding, to humanness, and to human engagement. Effective leaders are effective communicators. And again, one of your earlier presenters talked about the importance of communication. And things that you can do are to anticipate the resistance. Think about how someone else might be receiving your suggested changes. And if you've not involved them in the change, chances are they're going to push back because they don't understand the motivation. And so in the pushing back, that's a very natural reaction. And therefore it tells you that you need to listen and you need to think about how to turn the resistance into a more positive approach or more positive energy. And confident about the actions that you take. You are the professional, you are the individual who sees the entire picture, whereas perhaps a family doesn't understand the entire situation, or a particular teacher, or even an individual student. So don't worry that you might be pushing for an unpopular move, but just make sure that you engage multiple players in the decisions that you're making. Also, it's important to have strong conflict resolution skills and giving everyone a voice, so everyone is seen and everyone is heard, but not necessarily a vote. You are, after all, the leader and the person who will determine the direction and the vision for the school. And then finally, I wanted to mention a phrase I've often used, which is, you will never change what you are willing to tolerate. And I want to just pause on that for a minute and say it again. You will never change what you are willing to tolerate. So if you're tolerating some conditions, some particular situations, some difficulty that you see, if you tolerate it, chances are you will never, ever change it. And so think about the things that you are tolerating that might be getting in the way, as my colleague Bob Keegan talks about. School leaders really want to share. And what I find this particular graph so powerful is that we know that a large majority of school leaders are open to sharing their ideas with peers. But an important thing about communication and an important thing about school leaders is that you are in the middle and you must communicate in multiple directions. You must communicate up to perhaps the government, perhaps the state, perhaps some external authority asking you to do something, so you need to communicate, if you will, directionally up. You also communicate down in a direction for those for whom you are responsible, for those for whom you are a supervisor. But the most important communication, I think, for school leaders is across, is among other school leaders. When was the last time you spoke to another principal or director in your region? When was the last time that 3 or 4 of you got together and shared common challenges, problems, and solutions to talk about your actual work? So the communicating across is terrifically important in this time of being an adaptive leader. Finally, I want to just mention that we're back to where we started, and that you are still the leader in the middle. But if you'll notice in this particular situation, the arrows have reversed, and it is from you communicating out to the community, to the parents, to the children, to the teachers, and to the government, exactly how you would like to see things operate. So it is communicating with these multiple stakeholders that I think will lead to your great adaptive leadership success. I have just a few final comments for you, and I hope you found this particular conversation, pseudo conversation, because I'm doing all the talking that we've had, looking to the future. I hope you'll find this helpful. Will the world go back to the way it was? I don't think so. And frankly, I hope it doesn't. I see this as an opportunity for truly leading change and truly exercising your role as an adaptive leader. As I look out ahead, I think the role of the teacher will change, in that the teacher now needs to be more ambidextrous, sometimes working individually with a child, sometimes working at distance with a child, sometimes working with a group of children, and in various ways being more fluid, more nimble, more adaptable to the learning situation as it presents itself. I think families now will exert more influence on learning, and I'm all for that, because families can be very powerful partners in the learning and the well-being of children. Families will expect more because they've seen, if you will, at some level, the role of schools. They've been able to look inside and see what actually goes on in classrooms. And I think they will want to be more involved. And the more involvement of the parents, I think, the better. Schools will no longer play the community role that it has played in the past. Communities now see the important role that schools can play and will play. And I think through all of this, I'm hoping that there will be a much greater emphasis on equity, on making sure that all of our most vulnerable children are well served and helping them attain all that their wonderful God-given gifts can allow them to attain. So leading change begins and ends really with communication. And in the pictures that I've shown you in the slides, both the arrows pointed out and then they pointed in. And therefore, I also want to ask you to make a commitment, because the role that you play as a school director, as a school leader, is one of the most important, if not the most important, roles we have in our society. Children are our future, and their future rests in your hands. Thank you so much. It's really been wonderful to talk with you, and I hope you found this useful. Goodbye.